Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of Suzerain Kingdom of Rizia edition, where we are over in Sordland to do some economic discussion about a bond offer, but in the previous episode it did say it was going to require some additional funding and we don't really have the funding to do so we'll have to see how this goes. After we agreed to attend talks in Wholesword regarding a lucrative investment opportunity, the Swordfish capital now hurriedly prepares itself to host our king. Reportedly, the former royal quarters in the ruined palace are now to house royalty once more, if only for a few days' time. Now, we are friendly with Sordland. The military is overwhelming. They're a member of the OMEC and a member of the Alliance of Nations. Okay. We'll have to see how this goes. I'm not convinced it's going to go very well. Our delegation arrived at Wholesword International Airport earlier in the afternoon. President Errol Alfonso and a contingent of Swordish officials were there to welcome us. With the sun casting a golden hue over the city, our delegation reached Wholesword Tower. Accompanying me were my key advisors, including Lorenzo, Elena, as well as my daughter, Princess Vina Taurus. As our vehicle came to a graceful stop, President Alfonso stepped forward with a welcoming gesture. King Taurus, welcome to Wholesword Tower. It is with great pleasure to welcome all of you to this meeting today, which celebrates the great multifaceted economic partnership we are building between our great nations. President Alfonso, we are eager to discuss our mutual aspirations in such an iconic venue. Let's make this meeting a cornerstone of our nation's future. President Alfonso's gaze briefly swept across our group before setting on Princess Vina. Princess Vina, it's an honour to welcome you. During your stay, Mr. Manger and our team will ensure all your needs are met with the utmost care. Thank you, President Alfonso. I've studied much about Sordland's recent history, and I'm eager to experience its culture firsthand. Consider us at your service, Your Highness. Should you have any requests or need assistance, please do not hesitate to let me know. President Alfonso, Mr. Manger, your hospitality is greatly appreciated. It's comforting to know Princess Vina will be in good hands. No worries, King Taurus. We'll make sure Princess Vina and your delegation get the full Swordish experience, top-notch and no fuss. I appreciate that, Gus. It's important for us to see Sordland in its colours, beyond the official veneer. Thank you, Mr. Manger. Looking forward to exploring Sordland's culture and history firsthand. Now, let us continue our conversation over the evening's meal. The revolving restaurant awaits, offering not just exquisite cuisine, but a panoramic view of Wholesword. Upon entering the grand lobby of the Wholesword Tower, we were directed towards a lavish elevator. As we ascended very slowly, the elevator's smooth motion gave a momentary sense of detachment from the world below. The cityscape of Wholesword became a moving panorama through the glass walls as well. From the historic charm of the old town to the sleek modern area of the Maroon District, from the lush capital park to the diversity of New Earlery, the city looked like a blend of past and present. Quite the view, isn't it? It's always interesting to see Wholesword from this perspective. I hope your first impression of our city is a favourable one. Let's try and butter them up. Impressive, though the true character of the city is not found just in its skyline, but in the streets and lives of its people. Right on. It's the everyday folks that really tell you what a place is about, recession or not. Our privatisation initiative aims to invigorate these very streets, to bring prosperity not just to the skyline, but to every citizen. As the elevator gently came to a halt at the top of the Wholesword Tower, the door slid open, revealing the entrance to the revolving restaurant. Alfonso continued to talk. The recession of 51 was a direct consequence of entrenched systematic issues we inherited. The old bureaucratic guards, still loyal to President Sol's era, resisted necessary changes, leading to economic instability. Our response to this crisis has been to aggressively pursue economic reforms. This includes the ambitious privatization of key sectors such as energy, industry, and transportation. Our goal is to stimulate competitiveness and innovation. These steps, while controversial, are vital for Sordland's economic revival. Attracting foreign investment and modernising our economy are crucial for positioning Sordland towards a prosperous and stable future in the 60s. In a monarchy like Rizia, such swift policy changes might be easier to implement. In Sordland, we faced resistance, not just from the old guard, we've also faced it from institutional inertia? It's a lesson in the need for a more decentralised, autonomously responsive governmental system. Our central system was So our centralised system under the monarchy allows us a more decisive and effective governance, bypassing such bureaucratic hurdles. But the essence of governance is not only efficiency, but also legitimacy and fairness. We've got to remember that what the public wants isn't always what's necessary for economic growth. Strong leadership often means making the tough calls that people might not understand at the time. Leadership, especially in times of crisis, demands not just strength, but empathy and understanding. While we cherish our monarchy and its traditions, we are also open to learning from the reform experiences of nations like Sordland to adopt change. We'll go for that one. Okay, we'll try to butter them up. Your openness to learning from others is commendable, King Taurus. In these times, showing insights and strategies across different forms of governance can lead to more effective solutions to the challenges we all face. Here we are. The restaurant's large windows offered an unobstructed view of Holswold's expanse. The staff guided us towards a large table. As the gentle hum of conversation circulated, we were comfortably seated with our first beverages in hand. Would you like to know more about the panorama before us? I can offer some insights into the different areas of the city, each with its own unique story and significance. Sure. How do you see the evolution of Holswold? Well, Holswold's been going through a lot, just like Sordland. It's been rebuilding, growing, changing with the times. The city's like a mirror to the country, showing both the struggles and the triumphs. It keeps adapting, no matter what's thrown at it, even in the faces of challenges like the recent recession. And what about the Maroon District? It's quite a different area to the old town. The Maroon District's inception was initially President Risky's idea that was overtaken by President Tarquin Sol's vision to modernise Sordland. It began construction post-war and was renamed to symbolise the rebirth of Holswold under the Second Republic. It's the face of modern Holswold, got all the fancy buildings, businesses and MCs. It's adjacent to the government district. Yes, it's a blend of modernist and neoclassical architecture, reflecting our aspirations for progressive Sordland. Very well, let us proceed. It was time for me to make the opening remarks and negotiations. The success of both the whiskey wine deal and the resort investment has saved a solid path for us. I'm eager to see how today's discussions will further this trajectory. Previous successes serve as a beacon for what we can achieve today and in the future. The existing deals between our nations have already demonstrated a profound and positive impact. According to reports from Councillor Elena Werner, our alcoholic beverages industry has witnessed a doubling in commerce, accompanied by a significant uptick in consumption metrics. Our beverages industry in particular has seen a remarkable boom in commerce, corroborated by increased consumption data. This boom could be a gateway to exploring new markets and diversifying our export portfolio, which is crucial for Rizia's economic resilience. It is heartening to see how our economic growth is simultaneously fostering a richer cultural bond with Sordland. This could pose a delicate situation for many Golcondists in our region, who traditionally have reservations about alcohol consumption. But in business, especially in an industry as lucrative as alcohol, we often find that economic benefits can pave the way for broader acceptance, even in more conservative circles. Princess Vina, while we try our best to respect cultural traditions, it's also important to encourage progress and modernisation. I think Vina's going to have to take the back seat here. We must consider how these changes are perceived in different communities. It's about finding a balance that respects all viewpoints. Thank you for understanding, Father. It's just I've noticed a certain unease amongst some people, and I think their feelings matter in the grand scheme of our policies. Princess Vina and Your Majesty, your concerns are valid. As we delve into these perspectives, it might be timely to hear from Gus, since he raised questions in our communique. We are also keen to know about the current economic situation of the Kingdom of Rizia. Our recent research and inquiries still haven't been fully answered. The Treasury seems to have reduced income funds lately. We're looking for investments for this deal and hope you can afford such endeavours. And my proposal will offer a lucrative return of any investment into Sordland. Additionally, Rizian energy output seems to be historically low as of now. We hope to offer opportunities in the future that could help stock you up. From next term, we should have more energy. It is early to talk about these plans yet, but today might be a strong step to figure out a good future deal about energy too. and focus on improving the energy situation. We're working on having a better net surplus soon. Focusing on energy improvements is a vital initiative. Let's ponder these possibilities over the first course of our dinner. As the first course was served, a discussion strayed away to cultural activities. President Alfonso cleared his throat, signaling a shift to gain attention. We're offering Rizia the chance to purchase Swedish government bonds with a 4-year maturity at an excellent rate. Despite the current recession, we're on a path to economic revitalization, thanks to significant investments being secured from Kinau and Anraka in our progressive policy reforms. A key aspect of those reforms is the further privatization of crucial sectors, including energy. Gazprom is at the forefront of this transformation, poised to play a central role in our economic recovery. This bond issue is a chance for Rizia to not only gain financially, but also to deepen its goals to strengthen its resource economy through energy investments into Sordland. We will offer discounts if we see eye to eye on this deal. You mentioned future benefits of Rizia by signing this deal. Could you elaborate on what they may be? This bond deal opens the door to future collaboration. Given my chairman position with Gazprom, we can explore investment opportunities in energy, maybe preferential access to energy resources and shares, and a chance to be part of Gazprom's revitalization, which I'm actively steering. Gazprom's share sales and liberal policies could be game changers. We need to gauge how these economic shifts will affect the return on our bonds. It's crucial to understand how these changes will ensure the stability of our investment in Sordland. By making Gazprom more competitive and efficient, we're not only boosting our economy, but also enhancing the security and potential returns of your investment. If this bond deal and our collaboration with Gazprom succeed, it could indeed unlock significant advantages for Rizia. A prime example will be the potential reduction of import taxes on Rizian goods. And can you elaborate on how this will directly benefit our economy? We have the potential to reduce import taxes by 10% if our partnership develops after the bond returns, for example. Given the current recession, how can you assure us that these investments will lead to the growth necessary to secure our returns? We need to review the economic performance indicators and further recovery plans thoroughly. Growth forecasts alone aren't enough. The investments from Kinau and Anraka are substantial. Coupled with our economic reforms, they're projected to significantly boost our economy. This isn't market speculation or theory. Our plans are calculated based on economic principles behind a sound free market strategy. It's encouraging to hear these substantial investments, Mr. President. These aren't just hopes and dreams, they're well thought out plans based on hard economic data. We're setting Sordland on a path to a robust economic rebound. And your plans to sell shares of Gazprom and your current liberal economic policies are ambitious. Gazprom's push to raise from the global market and further economic liberalisation are likely to have significant impact. Stability and predictability are key for us based on historical precedents. Our new plan is aimed at boosting market confidence and stability. It will enhance the security and profitability of your initiative. The value of Gazprom is also set to increase. We also ensure a stable and rewarding return on the bond investment. And what about the elections, especially if you're not guaranteed to be re-elected? In the economic realm, continuity often prevails over political shifts. Our economic policies are designed to withstand political changes. The landscape in Sordland is ever-changing, particularly with Anton Rain's candidacy, know him, from last time, not that it ended very well. Despite the bond proposal are built for long-term stability and growth. It's reassuring to hear. What are your thoughts, Your Majesty? I'll say I trust their judgment. Our expertise and experience in managing Sordland's economy are at your disposal, ensuring that your investment decisions are well informed and beneficial. Our combined experience and understanding of the market dynamics ensure that we offer not just options. We can move forward. I'm tumbling over my words today. This investment goes beyond immediate financial returns. The Kingdom can engage more deeply in Sordland's economic sphere, potentially leading to preferential trade deals and collaboration in sectors like energy. Let's discuss the government bonds, specifically focusing on the returns in Rizian guilders. I'm just curious, No, I can't do any royal decrees with my authority, which I might have needed to do to get some more money. I'll break it down for you based on the current treasury availability. We arrived today with 2 bond proposals, one large and one small. The Rizian treasury might not be filled enough for our bigger and better proposal. I will continue with the smaller one. He took a quick sip from his cheap Swedish wine. Now, considering a more cautious investment of 3 billion Rizian guilders, the potential returns in successful economic recovery are still impressive. If Sordland's economy rebounds as per our projections, Rizia can see its investment grow to about 9 billion Rizian guilders. It's a smaller scale, but the proportion that increase remains significant. A small investment might be more prudent, allowing us to test the waters without overcommitting. A smaller scale investment allows Rizia to benefit from the potential economic upturns in Sordland with a more manageable risk profile. It's a wise approach from cautious yet forward-looking investors. If we consider our successful wine, whiskey and resort deals with Sordland, this bond investment seems like a natural progression for our economic growing partnership. These deals have already laid a foundation of trust and mutual benefit, which bodes well for the potential success of the bond investment. Even with a more conservative investment gained to us, the existing synergy from our wine and whiskey and resort deals provides a solid basis for our further collaboration. It showcases the potential of our economic collaboration. Lorenzo, you're just repeating everything everyone's already said. A larger bond investment could serve as a strategic catalyst to expand our relationship between trade or beyond trade into broader economic cooperation. As the revolving restaurant continued its graceful orbit, the second course arrived, elegantly presented and adding to the sophisticated ambience of our gathering. Adjacent to our table, a projector was set up, casting a clear, detailed presentation of the bond offer on a pulled-down screen, with well-prepared visuals for behind Gus. I must commend the effort put into this presentation. I hope it helps you to understand the full scope and potential benefits of this bond offer. We're offering an exceptional return rate of 3 times on your investment. It's reflecting our confidence in Sordland's economic rebound in the future. The question now is, where does Rizia see itself in the future? As a regional power in South Mokopa, or are we aiming for a more global presence? I think we want to try be a global player. Ambition, I like it. When it comes to global power, trade is the most significant influence in this century. Our position will be important. Our rich culture, resources, and strategic position matter to Mokopa and beyond. Venus' thought is commendable, yet as a seasoned diplomat, I must emphasize prudence. Our regional commitments and immediate economic interests are the first priority. Valid thoughts, Mr. Escobel. I remain an advocate for the progressive capitalism. It's about seizing opportunities and being at the forefront of economic innovation. This bond deal is a gateway to such progress. King Taurus, your leadership has already started shaping Rizia's future. What do you say about this new opportunity? I'm not flipping a coin on this. I've made my decision. It is your final call, Your Majesty. We've only got 1 budget, and we're going to use it, because I need some back. In principle, that should return 3 budget back to us. A cautious, yet strategic decision. It allows us to explore this opportunity while safeguarding our assets. Your choice for a smaller investment is wise and measured. It shows your prudent approach. A smaller investment is a sound decision, Your Majesty. This decision seems prudent. A small investment allows us to step forward while maintaining the flexibility to adjust as is needed. The arrival of the third course seemed to mirror our cautious approach, featuring exquisitely crafted yet understated dishes. As the sun set, painting the sky in shades of orange and purple, dessert arrived. As the final course was cleared away, the golden hues of the setting sun cast a warm glow over the table. President Alfonso stood, glass in hand, and turned to me with an inviting smile. May this meeting herald a new chapter of collaboration, understanding, and prosperity for both our great nations. Our future will be bright. It is important to understand each other's aspirations and to further strive for our mutual prosperity. The warm applause that followed the toast gradually subsided, and the atmosphere buzzed with animated conversations. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a beautiful array of colours across the sky, we began preparing to leave. The evening air was crisp and the city lights began to twinkle as they journeyed towards the Maroon Palace. Anticipation hung in the air for the evening party. Okay. So, purchase of 4-year government bonds from Sordland. Let's hope that goes well. Looks like we're about to end the turn here. Is there anything I want to enact this term with, albeit my very limited energy and authority? I could do the inheritance tax, but it's not going to be all too popular, as is the landowner's tax. I could also do a religious tax, and that's quite a good amount of money. But Wehlen and Rumburg wouldn't like us. Now, do Wehlen and Rumburg even like us anyway? Because that's kind of important. Wehlen is neutral. And what about Rumburg? Rumburg is friendly. But it would, in all likelihood, cause religious unrest. It would make us a lot of money per turn. That's a potential. Let's not go for that one just yet. Problem is, a lot of these economic ones are not ones that are very popular. I do want to remove provincial levy obligations that require all our authority. That might have to be something for next time, I would say. I would like for sort of bilateral talks going forward with other countries. Can sell some energy. I'm hoping our energies can start picking up next turn. As we're generally on good terms with those other countries, I'm going to sign this, and it might be a terrible idea going forward, but it's going to give us a lot more money. That being said, the religious folk are not going to be all too happy. And really, as we are kind of a religious person to some extent, that might be a bad idea. Let's also just gain an understanding of how we are doing generally. This gas field should be done at the turn of this turn. The dam needs another 3 turns. And I think we've got something over in Palace as well. But we'll continue on now. Meditations. Or mediations even. Was it mediations or meditations? I honestly didn't see. Okay. Wehlen. That might have been a bad time to annoy them. Victor Smollett, President of Wehlen, has finally agreed to meet me after several months of silence. Just after my meeting with him, I convened with my council for a briefing. Thank you all for joining us here. Lorento, as you have the latest information from Wehlen's Foreign Ministry, what would you like to begin? What can His Majesty expect today? Lorento stood up. He paced back and forth energetically as he spoke. We are in an uncharted territory, Your Grace. President Smollett's invocation of the threat mitigation protocol has been challenged, but the AN failed to meet a consensus. Essentially, he is in a position to hold Zeal hostage until his demands are met. And indeed, the new handover plan his ministers are now proposing has a 3-year timeline attached to it. In principle, I would take 3 years, but there's absolutely no guarantee that would actually... there's no guarantee it would be handed back to us after 3 years. Is that standard procedure? As I said, this is an unprecedented situation. I believe the AN is satisfied that President Smollett has set a new deadline at all. I almost think this will be met when the last one was not. Lucita, I do agree with you. Anger danced in Lucita's eyes. She gestured at the rest of the table. This is our territory. Why are we not setting the agenda? I am surprised the international community is not challenging an impressive man like President Smolak. The others looked at her in mild surprise. What of the people living in Zeal? Has anyone asked them how they feel about an extra 3 years of Vezek rule? My treasurer smiled wistfully. We may still have the opportunity to set the agenda. Any agreement Wehlen proposes is bound to have an economic aspect. Considering the dire straits Wehlen is in with the rest of the world, President Smolak might be about to offer us the deal of our lives. Correct as usual, dear. I remind you that Wehlen is under partial sanctions by most of the West. The only commodity they've been trading freely is oil. Speaking of which, we actually have some energy now. Excellent. I'd say we're in a better economic spot than we were before. Let's be a statement of support for us as the AN has further increased international pressure. Our investigators are cooperating with Wehlen intelligence, which will make it more difficult for President Smolak to claim we are uninterested in the region's security. Even so, we should handle this meeting with delicacy. Any aggression on our part can be used against us. Delicacy is one thing, submission is another. We must be careful what we promise. Very true, Your Majesty. At some point it may become necessary to call Wehlen's bluff. I know this much, Your Grace. Unless concessions are made, it will take years, if not decades, to get Zeal back. Any questions thus far, Your Majesty? What was the status of the internal investigation, Captain Gordian? Thank you, sir. We know certain individuals on Sueramina's fringes have planned and carried out isolated attacks of violence, but there is nothing connecting them to the Duke Group's more high-profile members or supporters, Duke Rico Taurus, for example. And a set of fingerprints sent by Wehlen intelligence did not match any of the members we have on file. Well, surely their involvement in the Zeal incident can be ruled out, then? Not yet, sir. These people are better organised than they seem at first glance. They may well be hiding something. I see. Carry on, then. And, Hugo, is there any word from the House of Delegates on this? They have met about it, Your Majesty. The majority consensus was that the timeline of the Zeal handover should take a backseat to protecting Rizian interests. Conceding too much to Wehlen too quickly will earn you the ire of Baroness de Rava and her party. The opposition, meanwhile, is much more amenable to compromise, particularly those party members from Brennus. That makes sense. They've been missing a piece of their province for long enough already. With all due respect, Your Highness, the Sezans lost the right to call Zeal theirs when the former Duke of Isa committed his act of treachery. They cannot seriously expect that they will be reincorporated in Brennus as if nothing happened. And why not? We took Isa from them. How much more punishment does their house need to endure? Rosita looked askance at her. I do hope you're not letting your emotions cloud your judgment, Your Highness. For what it's worth, I agree with the princess. Not only because the number of historic Escobal estates are located in Zeal. What fallout can we expect if we don't come to an agreement? Lorenzo looked down. I highly doubt that a full deal will be reached today, only the beginnings of one. His Majesty's question stands. Do we have a contingency plan? Well, Duchess, if our negotiations fall through, and international pressure is insufficient to force Wehlen back to the table, then the responsibility will fall on Zeal itself. Lucita flashed him a sceptical look. And what does that mean exactly? If a majority of Zeal's citizens believe their territory should belong to Rizia, the Vezek government cannot simply ignore them, especially if we gather external support. They can and they will. No state peacefully gives power away. Do we even have a majority? President Smolak's announcements has already put many undecided citizens into the pro-Rizian column, and we have avenues to influence them further. If we opted to fund a Zeal branch of the Taurus Association, they coordinated a Rizian-led reunification initiative. With enough pressure from both inside and outside Zeal, Wehlen will have to give the region back, or at the very least hold a referendum. Zeal doesn't need a referendum, Mr. Escobal, it needs a resistance. It's cut off from the Vezek mainland, divert enough funding and weapons to the right groups so we can make an overthrow happen without getting our hands dirty. My dear Duchess, you and your family really must learn that bloodshed isn't the answer to everything. You know what will end in bloodshed? Telling our people in Zeal to rise against the government without giving them the means to defend themselves. Or, for that matter, sending the message that our all-powerful king is placing stock in the result of a people's vote. I think we're in a good position to negotiate Zeal's return without any of this. Let's hope. What resources are we able to bargain with? A good question, Your Majesty. Gold is always an option. The regulations have also dented our small arms industry, but we could offer data rifles. And despite our real deal with the swords, we have a small wine surplus that we can sell or trade. We didn't drink it all in Callus, I only felt like we did. Rena grimaced as a reminder, while the other councillors chuckled. If we can manage to free up the natural gas in the Aureus field in time, that will be a tradable asset. But a country as rich as oil in Wehlen won't need much of it. They may flat out ask us to buy their goods instead of trade. We should be careful with our budget, and anyway, I'd rather not pay Wehlen with what amounts to ransom money. I think I'm ready as I'm going to be. Very good, Your Majesty. He's expecting us in the downstairs diplomatic suite. Good luck, Father. I'm crossing my fingers for results. As am I. Ooh, Lucita. Elena, Hugo, and Vina left the room. Lucita seemed to be intentionally delaying her exit. Her eyes looked onto mine. Titus and Lorenzo stood by the door, waiting to escort me to the meeting. Duchess, can you two wait outside? I'll be there in a moment. Of course, Your Majesty. With a knowing grin, Lorenzo bowed and motioned for Titus to follow him into the hall. Lucita snapped her attaché case shut and turned to me. What is it, Duchess? She walked towards me hesitantly. Your Majesty, I've been thinking. My advances towards you in Callus were rather ill-advised. I'm afraid I overstepped the bounds of propriety. You didn't overstep your bounds. I found your candour refreshing, and I still do. She blushed. Thank you. But people talk, on the council and beyond. I'd hate for anyone to think your national security decisions were influenced by personal intimacy. Perhaps it's best to keep this under wraps until my father is well enough to resume his position. How is the General's health? He's still ailing, but improving by the day. In the meantime, here's something for luck. She held out her hand. In it was a small wooden object. It was a chess piece, a queen. It appeared to be made of marble with golden details. I picked it up and took a closer look. There was a pair of crossed swords carved into it, the Azaro sigil. My uncle's. The mutineers ransacked his country house after they killed him. They took the set, but this must have fallen out in the chaos. I can't take this, it must hold deep sentimental value for you. Keep it as a reminder of what we have to lose and what we've already lost. She took my hand and gave it a quick squeeze. You should head to your meeting. We'll debrief later. I look forward to it. I slipped the chess piece into my pocket and stepped out into the hall to rejoin my bodyguard and foreign counsellor. May I ask, Your Majesty? I'm trying to explain. Let's get to the meeting. Lorenzo nodded. He didn't speak another word as Titus escorted us through the winding corridors to the first floor diplomatic suite. We left Titus standing guard outside the door and walked in. President Smolak was in the sitting room, flicking through a copy of the Royal Herald. He stood up and bowed to each of us. Your Majesty, Mr. Escobel, it truly is a pleasure to be here. I'm glad that you've found the time to meet with me. Yes, I apologise that it's taken so long. Things are quite turbulent in my country, as you understand. You won't believe what they're saying about me and your pip, Your Majesty. Smolak's iron grip on zeal, enforced by dictatorial command, wasn't any real respect for international law, or the rights of the local population should be seen as a threat to us all. I can't control what the Rizian press says about me, no more than I control what it says about me. Your Majesty, I have a suspicion that your media functions much in the same way as mine. Not a word is permitted that your government doesn't approve of. You see, you and I are not as different as you might like to believe. That's true, Mr. President. Both of us only want what's best for our people. I'm sure we'll be able to come to an agreement with that in mind. Exactly, that's why I'm here today. I saw relief in Lorenzo's eyes. We're already beginning to find common ground. I'm optimistic for these negotiations. The meeting room should be ready by now. Shall we proceed? He led us into the next room over, where a set of blue upholstered armchairs were arranged around a circular table. The three of us had a seat. A palace aide came by with water and coffee. Now that you're here, Mr. Smollett, can you explain in greater detail why you decided to postpone the Zeal handover? It is simple, Mr. Escabel. Zeal is now home to several million citizens of Vezek origin. Under the terms of our treaty our predecessors signed, they would have the right to stay and work in the region. But Zeal attack made it clear that these terms would not be respected. Without the protection of my government, I fear further violence will come to those who stay. What can I do to reassure you of your citizens' safety? There's nothing personal, Your Majesty, but your partnership with Rumberg, despite all of its efforts to destabilize us, is a warning sign to me. I cannot simply hand these people's lives over to the friend of my enemy. We'll make a special effort to integrate all Wessex who wish to stay. Lorenzo nodded. Rizia takes Wehlen's concerns very seriously, and be ready to take all available measures to ensure the security of people once the region is back in Rizia's hands. That is comforting to know, Mr. Escabel. President Smollett smiled just a little too widely. My ministers and I agree that before Zeal is integrated into Rizia, a good faith effort must be made to strengthen the bonds between our countries. We therefore drafted an addendum to the original treaty, a series of measures meant to renew our old friendship. What do we say here? And what precisely do you mean by a friendship? Not quite. We in Wehlen do not require the Rizian military's help to defend ourselves. Lorenzo pulled a file out of his briefcase and opened it on the table. Mr. President, we received the draft from your ministers, but the terms were extremely vague. You're asking for a trade deal, a bilateral migration agreement, and a counter-terrorism cooperation pact. Tell me more about the trade deal. That's probably one where we might have the best option. Very glad, Your Majesty. If there's one fact that everyone knows about Wehlen, is that we sell oil. Meanwhile, we are worried about the impact of the loss of Zeal will have on our economy. We need to find a way to stabilise our currency. We therefore propose a straightforward exchange of Rizek oil for Rizian gold, at what I'm sure you agree is a very favourable rate. 4 barrels for every ounce, to be precise. And what makes you think that Rizia is in the market for Rizek oil, President Smollett? Everyone is in the market for oil. There's a reason they call it black gold. You cannot get by on your natural gas stores forever. Your councillors will tell you about the importance of diversifying one's energy sources. And your republic is not known for its stability. How can you guarantee that you'll be a reliable trading partner? As long as I'm president of Wehlen, the oil will keep flowing. That much I can promise you. But of course, there are ways that Rizia could help Wehlen remain stable, as we will discuss. As for your gold, I know better than to question its quality, but I have concerns about the consistency of your supply. What are your concerns? Until Morella nationalises the MITZ and your mines vanish, I was at the AN too, if you recall. President Smollett, please rest assured that we will not promise you an amount of gold we are unable to deliver. However, we have other commodities that we can offer instead of addition to gold. What would those be of any interest? If the price is right, why not? I'm a flexible man. With a grin, he held his arm up and bent his wrist nearly all the way backwards. Lorenzo smiled patiently. I should tell you that Wehlen has other commodities too, Mr. Escabel. For instance, we're seeking to expand the market for morphine and other pharmaceutical products, not to mention Mercopa's finest tobacco. Our timber industry is also unparalleled in Mercopa, where nobles might take a particular interest in our new wood carvings. We'll butter him up a bit. The Queen Mother always spoke highly of Wessex tobacco. She's right, your mother. A puff of our quiche and a sip of your wine can't think of a more delightful combination. I know shops in Isa's little, I'm not going to try to pronounce that, quarter that sell quiche under the table. They can't restock it fast enough. You see, Wehlen is not only an oil country, just as Rizia is not only a gold one. There's plenty we can offer each other. And what about this migration agreement? We are asking for complete freedom of movement between Wehlen and Rizia. It is also a wish that Wessex residing in this country enjoy the same rights as native-born Rizians. That's going to ruffle some feathers. I could extend those rights to the Wessex currently living in Zeal, but to every citizen in Wehlen. Everyone or no one, Your Majesty, otherwise those in Zeal risk becoming isolated from their family and business connections on the mainland. If it were highly regulated, the integration of Wessex into the Rizian workforce could be more of a benefit than a drawback. Precisely, Mr. Escabel. Rizians can't hold a candle to my people's work ethic. With that said, Mr. Smolak, are you not worried about a potential loss of skilled workers as Wessex seek higher compensation in Rizia? Of course I have thought about that, but the trade agreement I have proposed will help level out the economic disparities between our nations. It will take more than a trade deal to repair Wehlen's damage, Mr. Smolak. Despite the devastation in our past, we remain a country with plentiful resources, not the least of which is our people. If you don't see our potential, then I feel sorry for you. And what about this anti-terrorism pact? Ah, yes. Oh, it's about the BFF, the British Freedom Front. Oh, what's your point, Mr. Smolak? They're a threat to the region, Your Majesty. They're not acting alone. Their so-called fight for peace is in reality a mass destabilization effort funded by the West. In fact, one of the BFF's biggest supporters is none other than your lovely sister-in-law. I have no knowledge of what the Kingdom of Rumbo does or doesn't do in Wehlen. Perhaps you should ask Her Excellency to fill you in the next time you sit down for tea. President Smolak, I am aware that the BFF has not gone completely inactive since the retirement of Tarquin Sol, and that they may be, in fact, gathering their strength. We have not yet made it clear what you want from Rizia. Patience, Mr. Escabel. You may be aware that most of the Bloods are followers of the sect called Golgondism. So I hear, are they the largest Golgondist community outside of Derdia? Precisely, and in fact, Mr. Asmael's country has been granting sanctuary even to the most notorious of Bludish criminals. My request is simple: all Rezek Blues and Derdian citizens to be turned away at the Rizian border. I'm not sure I can do that. We were duty bound to welcome our fellow Ruhekists, even if they belong to a fringe sect. This is not about that religion, it's about terrorists and those who support them. That may be so, Mr. Smolak, but the international community would see this as a religious ban. Were the ban limited to only those with blue identification documents, we would have a far easier time implementing it. Surely you understand. What I understand is that Bludish refugees have a fast track to Derdian citizenship. By allowing Derdian passport holders into Rizia, you may as well be opening your doors to the BFF. Those are my terms. You may take them or leave them. Unless... what's the unless? Well, Your Majesty, let's say the Republic of Wehlen decided to take a more proactive approach to the BFF problem. Lorento nervously adjusted his tie. If your kingdom promised to aid us in that, it would be, of course, far more valuable than any form of border control. And what kind of aid would be required? Yes, he wants Rizian military. Nothing so vulgar, Mr. Escabel. It's our long-term goal to drive the insurgents out of their strongholds in the north of our country. Once that happens, we suspect some will flee south towards Zeal. In that case, we would be most grateful if the Rizian Navy prevented them from reaching their destination. Oh goodness. I am not sure what to do here, in all honesty. Using our navy to blockade a refugee crisis is not a good look. Because while certainly there would be some genuine terrorists in that group, I'm not sure they would all be. This is your battle to fight, President Smolak, not Rizia's. All of us must do our part in the fight against Bludish extremism and Western influence, Your Majesty, but I'm also happy to discuss other terms. Lorento took one last glance at his folder, then looked up at us both. I believe we've covered everything, gentlemen. And what about this 3-year timeline? This timeline is to ensure that your kingdom can be relied upon, Your Majesty. We are looking for a long-term partnership with Rizia. You cannot simply tear up this treaty as soon as you get what you want. So we are asking for a 3-year probationary period. If all is still well between Wehlen and Rizia, By the end of that time, we'll be able to return zeal with full confidence. You didn't give it to us last time. When will it end? How can I be sure that 3 years won't turn into 10? Don't worry, Your Majesty. As long as the terms are met, the handover will proceed as planned. Lorenzo finished jotting something down on his notepad. Thank you for your explanations, Mr. Smarlack. This has been most informative. Would you mind waiting in the sitting room while His Majesty and I decide on Rizia's half of the agreement? It would be my pleasure. Well, quite a lot to think about, Your Majesty. I have the draft documents here if you're ready. Let's get to work. Think of everyone in Zeal, Your Majesty. We're doing this for them. He handed me the treaty amendment draft and I began going through it. Okay, so we want to have lots of negotiating power, I'm guessing. So, the Zeal agreement has been renegotiated to strengthen the economic, cultural and political ties between the nations of Wehlen and Rizia. Wehlen wants to be certain new conditions in a new comprehensive bilateral agreement. Okay, so I can get a bunch of new stuff traded in. That's not going to help with our negotiating power very much. I feel like actually the economy is one where we can probably get away with it. I don't want to bring in morphine or tobacco, really. Could do the oil. We'll do the oil. Right. I'm happy to give some wine and some small arms. I think we've got... Hang on. I think we've got still a decent amount of arms going forward. Natural gas, I'm not convinced about at the moment. So we'll do wine and small arms. I don't really want to promise aid. Oh, that's... And if I go back... Oh, I really don't know about those ships. If I don't implement a ban, that's going to really hurt the negotiations. I'll do Bluish people, but I'm going to regret it. I'm happy to give equal rights to visit citizens. We need a lot of negotiating power here. I feel like that's not going to be enough. I'll chuck in some gold. That's going to... Actually, that will really help. That's a lot of negotiating power. I'm going to do that. Let's hope that goes well. Something tells me it's not going to be. Lorenzo noted each decision I made in the margins of the document. When we had finished going through everything, he sat back and raised an eyebrow. Wehlen should have no trouble accepting this, Your Majesty. The question is, will Rizia? Almost certainly not. He asked an aide to call Smollett back into the room. The President of Wehlen wiped Rosetta crumbs off his moustache as he entered. What a delicious tart your people have invented. Imagine if it was a crust made of strudel pastry. But first things first, let's have a look at that treaty. Lorenzo handed him the annotated draft and he flipped through it eagerly. As he reached the end, his eyes filled with glee. We can definitely work with this, Your Majesty. I have to say I was not expecting such generosity from you. Assuming, of course, that you're planning on fulfilling these promises. Call it a symbol of my greater intentions. I too wish for our countries to resume our former partnership. We will resume it, Your Majesty. Together we'll be stronger than ever before. Lorenzo quickly paged through the treaty document again. Considering our countries' respective situations, we have indeed promised you quite a lot. I hope you will remember our kingdom's generosity in future dealings. I will, Mr. Escobar, but first I need to see actions, not just words. I wish I had time to celebrate, but I must go. Next time you visit us, we will smoke quiche together. You'll discover what you're missing out on. I'll leave this meeting to my mother, but I do look forward to our next meeting. Yes, tell the Queen Mother to join us next time as well. Lorento rose from his seat. An aide will show you out while we finish up in here, Mr. Smollett. Thanks again for your time. Thank you, Mr. Escobar, and of course you, King Romus. Have a safe trip back, Mr. President. I will. Wehlen's not so far away after all. We accompanied Smollett to the door of the suite. He bowed one last time as an aide ushered him down the hall towards the exit. Lorento and I looked at each other for a long couple of moments. We have quite the task before us, don't we? But I'm confident we'll rise to the challenge. Confidence and assistance are always appreciated. I'm only doing my royal duty. He gathered up his documents that were scattered across the table, and together we left the suite. I'm concerned about this in general, to be perfectly honest with you. That brutish thing is going to cause problems. But we are getting a lot of exports to Wehlen, which is also good. I imagine it's going to help with our economy going forward. So, what's next? The Zeal Resistance Funding. We have the option to fund resistance movements in the Zeal region. Ooh, this is going to be tough. These could help increase pressure on the resident government to return Zeal to Rizia, but they could also destabilise the area, further justifying Wehlen's decision to hold it onto it for national security reasons. I'll fund the Tourist Association. How's our relationship doing now? They're now friendly with us as well, which is positive, but I'm not sure how much longer it's going to stay positive for. We'll have to see. Some big decisions in today's episode. We do now have our energy going back in a positive direction, especially with the oil imports from Wehlen. And we also have the dam coming in 2 turns, and also over in Palace, we've got the Palace stream as well. So I'd say energy, we're in a pretty good spot. Diplomatically, I'm not sure. The Zeal conundrum is only getting worse and worse. And we do need to probably look over our budgets going forward. We don't seem to be receiving any money from the Wehlen trade just yet, but that may well come in next turn. In the meantime, thank you so much for watching. Take care. Bye bye.